Hey everybody. All right. I'm back. I'm back. I'm probably back. Probably like the third live I'm trying to do for the night. But welcome to Shireen's World. If you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Greatly appreciate it. I'm a survivor of domestic violence and narcissistic relationship abuse. And I'm just up here spreading awareness so I can help someone else out get through their situation that they're going through. Or maybe if someone doesn't understand what a narcissistic person is, or maybe someone doesn't know that they're in a domestic violence relationship. So my channel is about spreading awareness. I also run a Facebook page for domestic violence and narcissistic relationships. I survive. Make sure you follow that page. Also, if you go on my community wall on my YouTube channel, I also posted up some tips that I took from my Facebook page that I told you guys that I was going to do in my other video by spreading some awareness about what a narcissist is. Uh, I got information about the DV shelters, if they're all full, what you can do. There's information up there. I have information. It's so much information that I have on my community wall. Make sure you go on my community wall on my YouTube page. Check it out. Hit the like button, comment, share, whatever you got to do. If you do know someone that is going through a domestic violence relationship or a narcissistic abuse relationship, please share my video with them. I'm hoping that my videos will help them through get through some of their situation. Also share my Facebook page. Once again, it's called Domestic Violence and Narcissistic Relationship I Survive. Make sure you follow that page. I share a lot of awareness up there. Also, I have a group chat as well in that page. So when you follow my page, I will send you the link over to my group chat. That group chat is private. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And so other than that, I'm gonna get into some videos tonight, just speaking about it. Uh, Dr. Ramani, she's gonna be speaking about why the narcissist can't recover after betraying a super empath. So I share a lot of her videos. I watch a lot of her videos. She's a therapist, a licensed therapist. She is on YouTube as well. So make sure you go follow her YouTube page. It's called Dr. Ramani. Yeah, so we're gonna get into some video. Like I said, this is probably like my third time trying to come up here and do a live video. So I hope you guys subscribe. Thank you. And once again, if you do know someone that's actively going through a situation, please share my content to them. Please share my Facebook page to them. I share a lot of information up there that would definitely help them. Family court cases, like what to do, how to heal. What I'm going to start doing is bringing some of that information to my YouTube community wall so you guys can see. So thank you. We're going to get into some of these videos. I tried to come up here a little while ago and share the videos up here so you guys can actively see what I'm sharing, but that didn't happen, right? So I had to switch the tactics up. So I apologize about that, but I tried to switch something up tonight and let you guys see what I'm watching. But as you see, I had to delete the last video. It just wasn't going right. My phone was going off and it just annoying. But anyways, let's get into it.
They don't come back because they truly missed you. They return because something in their life stopped giving them what they were used to getting. And once you see this clearly, it stops feeling like love and starts looking like a predictable cycle. Thoughtful. Take a moment to reflect. If they showed up today, would you recognize the pattern or would you fall for the same story again? What makes it so tricky is how convincing it can feel. They may talk about missing you, thinking about you, or realizing your value, and it can seem heartfelt. But underneath it all, what's really driving them isn't genuine care. It's a need for what you provided without even knowing it. Size. That need is called supply. Your attention, validation, reassurance, emotional energy, and reactions, all the things that fed their sense of self. When you weren't there, they didn't necessarily move on. They just found another source to fill that void temporarily. During the time apart, it may have looked like they moved on effortlessly. In reality, they often just redirected that need onto someone else, another situation, or another person who could give them the same validation you once did. While that source works, you stay in the background, out of sight, out of their chain, because their needs are being met elsewhere. Once that supply diminishes, becomes inconsistent, or disappears, something shifts. That's when they start looking back, not because of longing, but because of necessity. They remember who consistently gave attention, who responded, who was
So if you're dealing with a narcissist, this is basically what she's talking about. So if if you have this type of situation going on with yourself right now, and everything that she's saying is hitting your relationship, this is a licensed therapist that's talking. So, just take on the information. This is why up here just spreading the awareness so you guys can understand what a narcissist is and what they do and how everything goes. Because everybody want to know, like, how can I handle this situation? How can I take care of my mental? Like I said, I have people that inbox me and ask me these questions. So that's why I share nothing but awareness about it.
emotionally available. Your name comes back into their mind not as someone they genuinely care for, but as a reliable source they once had access to. This explains why their return feels sudden and confusing. There's no gradual reconnection, no buildup, just an abrupt re-entry, as if picking up where they left off. In their mind, the connection was never about mutual growth or emotional depth. It was about access, and now they're checking if that access still exists. The silence before their return.
So basically, like, if you haven't spoken to your, let's say you're out of that situation, you haven't spoken to them in a while, and then they're reaching out. Ladies, like, I mean, this goes for anybody that's dealing with a narcissist. Don't even deal with the situation. It's the same revolving door. It is going to be the same revolving door, the same boo who cries, the same whatever. They did not go sit down and get help.
Return is often misunderstood. You might see months without contact as time for reflection, growth, or emotional processing. In many cases, it's none of that. The silence is about control without direct interaction. When you step back, stop engaging, or walk away, you disrupt the dynamic they were used to. Instead of reacting, they go quiet, not because they've let go, but because they're recalibrating. During that time, they're observing, checking in indirectly, or holding on to the assumption that they still occupy space in your emotional world.
So basically, if they're still reaching out to you or once periodically reach out to you just to see how you're doing and stuff, that's just them, like you said, they're just trying to check in just to see. And if you take that bait, they're gonna butter you up for a little while. They're gonna rock you to sleep. You're gonna be back in that same situation because narcissists always have a supply in the cut. Like they just do.
World. Your absence creates a psychological gap, but instead of addressing it, they let time pass while leaving the door slightly open. What changes is not their emotional growth, but their perception of influence. The longer you remain unreachable, the more uncertain they become about whether they still have an impact. That discomfort challenges their sense of control. When they return, it isn't about accountability or reconnection. It's about regaining relevance and seeing if they can still affect you, still evoke a response, still step back into a space they never fully left. One of the most overlooked truths is that their return often has little to do with you and almost everything to do with what isn't working in their current life. From the out
So let's say, for example, right? you're in the situation and they keep returning, you keep allowing them to come back. And every time they come back, you express everything. They say they sorry, but then they turn everything onto them. Or then they turn everything onto you. It all depends. Like I said, if they have not gone to therapy themselves, not you forcing them, themselves wanting to go to therapy, there's no need, there's no reason for you to go back to that narcissist.
Outside, it can look romantic, like they finally realized your worth. The reality is far less about love and far more transactional. Something in their present situation has stopped working. Maybe someone else isn't giving them attention, boundaries have been set, or someone simply no longer tolerates the patterns they relied on. That source, which once fed their need for validation or emotional engagement, isn't delivering what they expect. Instead of reflecting on the loss or their behavior, they start scanning for familiar replacements. People.
And that's what you call a narcissist supply. So once their one supply is just like, they try to go for the next supply. And this is why we say they always have one in the cut. Let me tell you something. A narcissist is always going to be a narcissist. The only way a narcissist could reshape his life is if they go to therapy. And they have to want therapy. Not to be forced to therapy. They have to want the therapy. They have to understand when they sit in that chair with the counselor, you know, understand what they're doing wrong and acknowledge everything down to whether they have mommy issues or daddy issues or whatever issues that they have from young or from whatever issues that it was, it don't matter. They need to sit down with a therapist and speak about that and work on that because honestly, there's no cure for narcissistic personality disorder. And most of these men is walking around not going to sit down and get therapy to get diagnosed. So why would you want to go back to somebody that doesn't go to therapy? What do you, there's no need to force somebody to want to go to therapy. It shouldn't take them a long time. So ladies, this is why I bring the awareness. I've been there. I've been in that situation. If you are in a situation, it's best to get yourself out of that situation. And like I said, I post up a lot of information about how you can get yourself out of that situation if you go on my community wall, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, go to my Facebook page, Domestic Violence and Narcissistic Relationships I Survive. Follow that page. Go out there. I share a lot of information up there. It's a lot of information up there that you can read, especially on how to get away from your abuser. I share information on mental health of narcissistic abuse and domestic violence abuse. So if you're in a situation, it's best to get yourself out. If you are a survivor out of this situation, I know it's the best feeling that you can feel to come out of that situation. The more information that you get about narcissists or domestic violence, the better you can get to equip yourself for the future. The whole goal is to end the cycle. You want to break that cycle. You don't want to keep going back to the same thing. The whole goal is to witness and notice the red flags. But when you deal with a narcissist, it's sometimes you don't even know you're dealing with a narcissist. It's like after a while, you'll be like, oh wow, you're a narcissist. Like that's what you are. And like I said, some of them don't go get diagnosed. And then they just go on to the next person, or whatever. They go around people with all this bad energy of this demon energy that they got. and then wonder why everything is all falling loose, and then they put everything on to everybody else that actually really cares about them. But you know what? They all for themselves. And this is why I'm up here spreading awareness. And I appreciate every one of you that's viewing my channel, that's viewing my videos. And I appreciate you guys that's coming from Facebook that's viewing my videos. I have a lot of survivors that's viewing my videos. I have a lot of victims that's viewing my videos from Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, I really appreciate it. Listen, it is not it's not safe. It's not safe when you're dealing with a narcissist, especially when you're coming out that situation. It is not safe. It doesn't matter how long you come out that situation. It doesn't matter how long you've been out of it. It doesn't matter. Listen, you always have to stay 10 steps ahead, like I always say, when it comes to a narcissist or anything with domestic violence. You got to do what you got to do.
People, patterns, or situations they know will give them the same supply. And this is where you come into the picture, not because you were the one that got away, but because you were consistent. You showed up, you cared, you engaged, and you offered an emotional steadiness they could rely on. So when their current situation collapses or stops giving them what they need, your past becomes convenient. Their timing can feel almost uncanny, appearing just as you're starting to feel stronger or move on. But this isn't intuition, it's calculated opportunity. They return when they need stability, when a gap needs filling, when they want that reliable attention they once had from you. The hardest truth to face is that none of this signals growth on their part. There's no real change, no deep realization. You're not being chosen. You're being revisited because something else failed. And in their mind, you're a familiar fallback when things fall apart. One of the most powerful ways they re enter your life is through shared memories. They rarely begin with confrontation or accountability. Instead, they reach for nostalgia, bringing up moments that once made you feel seen, inside jokes, meaningful conversations, and experiences that felt real. For a moment, it can feel like warmth, like something familiar, like what you shared was deeper than it really was. But this isn't accidental. Nostalgia is their tool to bypass logic and hit emotion directly, softening your defenses and making you question your own perspective. You might start wondering if it wasn't so bad or if they've truly changed. That's exactly the space they want to create. A space.
So it's like they make you feel it's like they're manipulating you type. It's crazy. They play these mind games. You know, who wants to play these mind games? And after a while, you start noticing.
Where your clarity blurs. They highlight only the good while ignoring the patterns that caused pain. They avoid accountability, presenting a curated version of the past that keeps you emotionally invested without addressing the truth. The memories feel real because you lived them, making the manipulations subtle. It doesn't feel like manipulation, it feels like connection being restored, while for them, it's all strategy. At the core of their return is control, not genuine connection or reconciliation. When you went no contact, you didn't just create distance, you disrupted a dynamic where they had predictable access to your emotions, thoughts, and reactions. That loss of influence unsettles them. Control isn't always loud or aggressive. Sometimes it's quiet, a casual message, a small check in, an attempt to simply talk. Beneath that calm surface, they're testing, can they still reach you the way they used to? Every reaction you give becomes data. Do you reply quickly? Do you engage emotionally? Do you explain yourself?
Also, I just wanted to say on my community wall, I have information up there as well as about going no contact. So if you go on my community wall, I did share some information. It's a lot of good information about going no contact up there. I also got the Domestic Violence National hotline number up there. Listen, I got all the information up there. So if you're sitting back somewhere, you in a DV shelter, or you at home somewhere, wherever you're at, listen. Take in the information and do what you got to do and keep yourself protected.
If you respond as you once did, open, available, emotionally invested, it signals that the dynamic hasn't changed, that the door they walked through before is still unlocked. And if even slightly open, they gradually step back into old patterns little by little, more familiarity, more expectation, more influence, all quietly wrapped in what looks like harmless interaction, so subtle that you barely notice it at first. The hard truth is that when they come back, it's rarely about creating something healthier or more meaningful. It's about reclaiming familiarity, a place where they feel in control of the connection again. And the moment they sense that control slipping, the old cycle often begins to repeat, almost exactly as it did before. Their return is layered with subtle testing, so quiet that you might not even recognize it at first. They aren't just trying to reconnect, they're gathering information. They want to see where you are emotionally and mentally. Are you still affected by them? Are you still accessible? Or have you grown in a way that makes them uncertain? That's why their approach often feels measured. A simple message, neutral tone, almost casual. Behind that simplicity is a careful observation, how quickly you respond, how much emotion you show, how available you seem. Any trace of the old dynamic.
This is why you go no contact, especially when you're done with that relationship. You go no contact. I keep telling you guys, no matter what they're saying to you. As a peer mental survivor, I'm up here spreading awareness. And that's what a peer mental survivor is. I've been through domestic violence in 2019, and I went through a narcissistic domestic relationship in 2025. My story in 2019 broke the whole internet, the whole news. It was everywhere. That person is doing prison time. So if you do follow my Facebook page, domestic violence and narcissistic relationships, I survived. And then if you also go into my group chat, I also shared the information of everything about that into my group chat. My group chat is private for a reason. It's due to safety reasons. I like to make sure everybody is safe. I monitor everything on my group chat. I want to make sure everybody get the most safest information that they can get that's out there. The more, like I said, all this information is, public information. You can go on Google, YouTube, anything. But as a survivor, I'm up here spreading that awareness because I want to help the next person not go through the same thing.
Dynamic, warmth, eagerness, emotional openness signals to them that the connection hasn't fully closed, that emotional availability equals accessibility. If your response is grounded, distant, or minimal, it creates uncertainty. And they hate uncertainty because it threatens their control. That discomfort drives them to shift strategies, either by becoming more persistent or pulling back, depending on what they think will work. This isn't about understanding or respecting your growth. It's a quiet assessment of whether you can still fit into the role you once played in their life. Even a small reaction on your part becomes the answer they're looking for. When you grow, heal, and begin to see clearly, it threatens the version of reality they relied on. While you were in the old dynamic, your patience, tolerance, and willingness to stay let them avoid accountability. Your growth breaks that narrative, creating distance both physically and psychologically. You start questioning what you once accepted, recognizing patterns instead of being drawn into them. Without you playing your old role, the structure they depended on weakens. When they return after months, part of their motive is checking whether the old narrative still exists. They want to know if you're still the person who tolerated, explained, and stayed. If you are, nothing has changed. They can slide back
Now, would you want to stay through that? Once you got out that situation, you don't want to go back through that situation. Mhm. And I understand some people may have kids with these people or whatever the case may be. Like I said, there's advocates that can help you. I do share information up there as well. And I also will continue to keep sharing some information on my community wall as well. We're spreading awareness up there. Whatever I can share is what I'm gonna give.
into the old dynamic. But if you've genuinely grown, if your boundaries are firmer, awareness sharper, and responses more grounded, it disrupts them. They're forced to confront a version of you that doesn't fit into their old patterns. And that's uncomfortable because it removes predictability. Their return, in part, is a test, not to celebrate your growth, but to see if it's real and if it holds under pressure. If they detect even a small crack, a hint that you might slip back into old patterns, they will notice it and try to exploit it. The timing of their return can feel almost uncanny, like they showed up right as you were finally starting to feel okay again. Maybe you'd reached a point where thoughts of them no longer dominated your mind, where the emotional intensity had softened, where you were stepping back into your own life, and then suddenly they appear. It feels personal, almost deliberate, and deeply emotional. And in a way, it is deliberate, but not for the reasons you might think. Their timing is rarely accidental. It's based on observation, instinct, and pattern recognition. They often sense when someone is becoming less guarded, more open, or more reflective, and they choose moments that maximize their chance of influence: holidays, late nights, or emotionally vulnerable periods. Sometimes it's about cycles. They return when enough time has passed for the pain to fade, but not enough for detachment to fully set in. That middle space, where you're no longer hurting but not completely indifferent, is prime ground. Doubt can creep in, memories can feel nostalgic, curiosity can take over. That's exactly the moment they aim for. They don't come back when emotions are raw, because resistance is strong. They don't wait until you're fully over it, because then the connection may no longer be accessible. Instead, they step in at the precise moment they believe gives them the highest chance of re entry, when your guard might be just low enough to slip through without confrontation. So when someone like this returns after months of no contact, it's not fate, and it's definitely not a sudden revelation of your worth. Every reason for their return traces back to the same core motives: need, control, curiosity, and opportunity. What feels emotional is often strategic. What seems like connection is really familiarity being repurposed. And this is where your perspective can shift. Once you recognize the pattern, their return loses its power. It stops feeling magical and becomes predictable. You no longer see it as love, you see it as repeated intentional behavior. The real question is no longer why they came back. The real question becomes, what do you do next? Their return isn't resolution. It's the reopening of a cycle you've already experienced. You don't need another conversation to understand them. You don't need another chance to prove your worth. Clarity comes not from trying again, but from recognizing that their return doesn't change what you already know. So instead of asking, is this
Crazy. Yeah, I hear that.
different? Ask yourself, am I different now? Because that answer determines everything. The truth is, when someone comes back into your life after months of silence, it's rarely about love, growth, or genuine connection. Their return isn't a romantic awakening or proof that they finally get it. It's about familiarity, convenience, and control. They remember you as someone consistent, someone reliable, someone who gave emotional energy, attention, and validation they could count on. When that source disappears or falters elsewhere, they circle back, not because they missed you, but because they missed what you provided. And when you finally start stepping into your own life, gaining clarity, and reclaiming your emotional space, that's when their timing often feels almost uncanny. They know the moment when doubt, nostalgia, or lingering curiosity might make you more accessible. It's calculated, not coincidental. They observe, test, and measure your responses to see whether the door they once walked through is still slightly open. What makes this even more subtle is the way they use memories and nostalgia. They bring up shared moments, inside jokes, and emotional highs to pull you back into something that feels warm and familiar. And it works because those memories are real, because you invested in them. For you, it can feel like connection. For them, it's strategy. Every message, every
And that's how they get you.
casual interaction, every carefully timed approach is designed to gather information. Are you still the person who tolerated, explained, or stayed? Can they still influence you? Are you emotionally available in the same way as before? The moment you show any trace of your old reactions, they read it as access. And if they sense that access is still possible, the cycle begins quietly, gradually, often without you noticing at first. But here's the empowering part. Once you recognize the pattern, the illusion fades. What once felt magical or deeply personal becomes predictable behavior. You begin to see that their return isn't about you. It's about what isn't working for them elsewhere. Their motives are transactional, not emotional. They aren't revisiting the past to heal it. They're revisiting it to see if they can step back into a role you once played. They aren't testing your love. They're testing your predictability, your availability, and whether the dynamic they once relied on can still exist. And that's where the power shifts entirely into your hands. The real question stops being why they came back and starts being what you choose to do next. Because the truth is, you've already lived the pattern. You've already felt the highs and lows, the confusion, and the emotional pull. You've already given more than enough chances, explanations, and energy. Clarity doesn't come from giving it one more try. Clarity comes from recognizing that nothing about their return changes what you already know. They aren't different. And this isn't an opportunity to prove your worth. The only difference now is you, your growth, your boundaries, your awareness, your ability to see the pattern for what it is. All of this determines how the story unfolds from here. When you step into that space fully, when you acknowledge their return for what it really is, you stop giving them control. You stop letting them rewrite your emotional reality. And in that choice lies your freedom. You don't need to re enter old cycles. You don't need to reopen doors that should stay closed. You simply need to honor your growth, trust your clarity, and choose yourself first, because the real power has always been in your hands.
Okay. So yeah, so that was Dr. Romani. She's a licensed therapist. She has a YouTube channel. I played some of her videos and some of my other content that I did. If you guys like, go follow her page, her YouTube page as well. I mean, everything she said, if you are going through this, experience this, or if you're just wanting to learn about this, it's all about awareness, bringing that awareness. I really hope that you guys are safe tonight. I know it's late. Like I said, I tried to do this live like 3 times, but I know it's late, so I'm gonna do my safety tips. Like I said, I do have these safety tips on my community wall and my Facebook page, but there's a lot more that's said to these safety tips. There's a lot more details that's within it. But make sure your doors is locked, your windows are locked, your emergency numbers next to you, your cars, is pulled in where you can just exit out. You have a safety place to go to, and if not, there's always DV shelters to go to. There's always 911 you could call. You have advocate. If you're in the DV shelter, Just, take it one step at a time. Don't listen to no sad music. Listen to something that's more upbeat, that'll get you going, get your health going. Read a book, do something that'll get you going, that you like to do. If you're going through a family court case, trust me, I totally understand what it feels like to go through that. Don't let your anxiety get to you. Don't let anything scare you. You walk in there with your head held high. If you don't have an advocate, make sure you get you one. If not, you walk in there with your head held high, and you're gonna win. You're only feeling like that because of everything that you went through. But also, I have information on my Facebook page, which is called Domestic Violence and Narcissistic Relationships I Survived. I have information about that when you're going through family court. And it also has the domestic violence hotline number and all that shared information up there as well. So, ladies, listen, everyone, if you're going through a situation of domestic violence, abuse relationship as well, it's not safe. It's not okay. I've been there. It's never okay. Like I said, 2019, I've been there, and I'm not supposed to be sitting here right now, but by the grace of God, I'm here. And I'm supposed to been out here spreading my awareness, but listen, I'm here and I'm bringing it, and this is what God want me to do. This is what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring it. So thank you guys. Once again, thank you for subscribing to my channel. And if you're watching from Facebook, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great night. Have a great weekend. I would definitely come back live again Saturday with some more commentary and some more videos, and get up here and talk and see what's going on up here. So yes, thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
House too quiet, heart too loud. Thought I'd die there. Look at me now, yeah. Keys in the door, I froze in the kitchen. Breath so thin, could've sworn I was missing. Purple on my skin, but my soul stayed vivid. You said you're mine, and I whispered I'm living. Phone in the drawer.